Are you ready for your window shoppers to become paying customers? Ecwid e-commerce is here to make that happen. We can help you automatically show the exact product visitors saw but didn't purchase on your site wherever they go on Facebook and Instagram using this magic called dynamic Facebook retargeting. To show these ads to your prospects today, sign up in your Ecwid control panel in the marketing section and look for the Facebook remarketing app. This is fully integrated into Ecwid and Facebook and so simple and effective you'll wonder why you hadn't done this sooner. To help you decide, if you sign up now and spend $50 by February 15th, you'll receive a free $100 advertising credit from our friends at Facebook. Okay, back to the show.
This is the Ecwid E-Commerce Show with your host, Jesse Ness, along with Richard O'Tay.
Richard, how's it going today?
It's going great. I'm excited.
Awesome. Me too. We just had some lunch and we're talking a little bit about today's podcast. I think the reason I'm excited about today's guest is that we work in online, we work in e-commerce. So a common question to people is like, where should I start? What site should I use to build this? Here's what I got to do. I mean, Rich, I know you're even going through a question right now.
Oh yeah, it's kind of that never-ending. Do you go with the one that has all the feature sets that you might use someday, or do you just pick the one that has the feature sets you need right now and just get going and then adjust accordingly? We know that there's those areas, those gray zones where you kind of want to look ahead of time.
Yeah.
But at the beginning, it's daunting no matter what for some people, right? Because they're just like, WordPress, Joomla, like which one of these things do we grab?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've played with a bunch of these on my own and different sites for different reasons. So I thought today we would present a real option for Ecwid store owners and other commerce people out there with our guest today. Today we have Jason Nickerson. He's the head of the Capital Team on the Joomla leadership team. Jason, welcome to the show.
Hi, guys. How are you doing?
Awesome.
Doing
real good.
Welcome, Jason.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we talked before the show here. You've been in e-commerce for how long now?
Oh, gosh. Probably about 14 years, maybe 15 or more.
Okay. And so, and so you've had these same questions and people asking questions of you of, hey, well, where do I start? What platform should I use? So
Oh yeah, and this was, I started before there was WordPress or Joomla really. I was starting with an open source shopping cart that was very difficult. It wasn't like things are today. We all look at page builders and things like that. We've all become very accustomed to, uploading a plugin or an extension with a zip file. Back then, you had to do the core editing of the code just to, add features to it, which was a great start for me to get into and actually understand, some of the programming languages and things that happen with e-commerce.
So you know the code. So you're like old school here of e-commerce.
Yeah.
So what was it that actually prompted Joomla? Did you see something in WordPress that you saw an opening and wanted to take advantage of with Joomla? What was the inspiration?
Oh, well, I basically started, I had a lot of time in the music industry. I had a brick and mortar record store back in the day. I'd worked in some media. I'd done some A&R for some large people, and I kind of wanted to transition, and I saw like a big opening when the MP3 market came out, and I was basically into some dance music, and at the time there were some major players that were popping up like Beatport and some other download stores. So I started a digital record label, and I started it with OS Commerce and PHP Nuke. And at that point, after I had built the site and I was working on it, I had a lot of people asking me to build websites, and I really never wanted to get into the website building industry because I just really knew that just about everybody's brother or cousin could build a website, and I didn't think there was the big market that I wanted to get into. So I started actually doing some sites for people, and I came upon a situation where I needed something larger than what I was doing. So I did a little bit of research, and this was in about the mid 2000s, and WordPress at the time was really just straight a blog. There weren't a lot of plugins, wasn't e-commerce for it yet, I don't believe at that time, and my solution was for a real estate site, and I actually just Googled something, and I found out there was a solution for Joomla. And having some experience with, say, PHP Nuke or another content management system, I was able to spin that site up in about a week, and I was very impressed with the features of Joomla. Because, again, at that time, WordPress was really out there pushing itself as a blogging platform. There wasn't this huge ecosystem, and Joomla actually has a very large ecosystem, and at that point, it was really just thriving because Joomla had only been around for a couple of years, and it needed all of these different features and stuff. So I started building stuff with Joomla, and then I started my own company based around Joomla, making Joomla templates and extensions. And it's kind of funny. I believe this month is the 13th year of Joomla. Wow. It's the 10th year of my company making Joomla templates and extensions. And the funny thing that a lot of people don't know about some of these open source projects, such as WordPress and Joomla, is that they started as what it's called a fork. An open source project is basically open source code, and it's free, meaning you can download it for free, you can edit it for free, and as long as you leave the copyright in place, you can take the whole code base and create your own thing. So today, if I wanted to say, well, I don't really like where Joomla is going, and I've got 8 people, programmers together, and I want to start Boomla. All I have to do is copy the Joomla code, leave the copyright in place, call it Boomla, and we're good to go. Mm-hmm. And that's how WordPress started. WordPress was B2B blog, I believe, and then Matt forked it over, and then WordPress came along, and Joomla is the same thing. It used to be called Mambo, and the leadership said, okay, well, let's do Joomla. And Mambo went away, and I think it's still around, but it's never been as big as, say, Joomla was, because we got a lot of good leadership in there and stuff.
Wow. So I've heard of Mambo before, and Joomla's been around a long time now, but so it sounds like back in that early day, it was like, it was the main platform for building, slightly more complex websites. Is that fair? Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it was really the solution if you wanted a true content management solution. It wasn't WordPress really wasn't even like called a blog, even if I looked this up on the Wayback Machine when it started. It was just a publishing platform.
Sure.
And it really was the whole ecosystem that the people making plugins for it, that it expanded it into this monster that it is today. I mean, I really had no idea that WordPress was going to dominate how it has, and that's because of a couple factors. One is, they have WordPress.com where you can start your own blog, but WordPress powers so much of the internet. It's amazing. I mean, you can look at trends and stuff and see how, Joomla was neck and neck with WordPress, and Drupal was kind of at the bottom, because for people that don't know Drupal is it's also an open source content management system, but you really need to be a coder to get a programmer. It has a really steep learning curve, and that's kind of gone toward the enterprise level now. Drupal's more interested in government jobs and more enterprise level, whereas Joomla and WordPress are more accessible for the end user.
Sure.
And there's just it's so amazing what can be done with open source. I like to tell people, Joomla is getting ready for version 4 right now. WordPress is version 5, I believe. Joomla puts out about 3 or 4 updates a year, and WordPress about the same. And you look at these large tech companies, say Microsoft and Internet Explorer and things, and you see how long it takes them to update even just common known bugs and stuff. And by doing it with open source and a team of volunteers that are really passionate about the project, you can get a lot done quickly.
Yeah, it's amazing so all those major updates you're talking about, that's all volunteer work from volunteer coders around the world. Is that the case?
Yeah, that's the interesting thing about Joomla. We've got over 1,300 volunteers, and again, Joomla is distinctly different than WordPress and Drupal, because WordPress, Matt has a company called Automatic, and that's they've got startup money, they've had millions of dollars to promote WordPress, and they're actually a company, and they have full leadership, whereas Acquia, it does Drupal, and they are as well are a full company. Where Joomla, we have a corporation called Open Source Matters, and that's just there because we have to have a leadership team to take care of the trademark and things like that. But everybody from the president to the coders to the guy who writes the documentation to the person who's on the forum, they're all volunteers.
And that includes the guy on the podcast as well, right?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. But that's the unique thing, too, is that most of these volunteers, we do this because we want Joomla to be better, and we do have a passion for Joomla, and we all kind of work within the Joomla thing. People ask me all the time about my volunteer status, and I tell them that, well, honestly, if somebody had come up to me 10 years ago and said, hey, well, would you like to work on a project that is going to have, 100 million downloads? There's going to be 1,300 or more people working with you. It's going to power, 3% of the internet, and it's going to be this awesome thing, but you're never going to get paid. I probably would have laughed and walked away. But, and it took me a little time to actually start with the community. I probably ran my company blindly, making money off of Joomla for about 6 to 7 years before I decided that I wanted to go ahead and volunteer my time to try to help Joomla and make Joomla a better product.
Got it. So you were making money off of Joomla. This is the extensions and themes. Is that the main?
Yeah. My company, Joomla XTC, Extension and Template Club. We started off making just little plugins for it, and the great thing about Joomla is it has an extension directory and things. And after doing e-commerce, selling MP3s for 99 cents, setting up some other e-commerce stores, I know how long it takes for when you put a product up online, especially, back then in the early 2000s, there wasn't this really hardcore SEO and stuff. You had to, it took a couple months when you put something brand new online, unless you had a lot of money for advertising. So I've gone that route and seen things, just slowly take off. But it was amazing to me when we started the company. We put up a couple things on the Joomla extension directory, and they just were selling, and the money was growing. And then we started moving into templates, and I was just shocked. The first month that we put something online, we probably sold at least 150 products, and not knowing how this digital download thing works, because we are selling a GPL, an open source product, and it is a digital download, and the problem that people have had with the media and stuff, people pirating stuff, and you can find it all. I had no expectations for the long-term sales of it, but I think we did like an MP3 player, and I think it capped out at about 30,000 or 40,000 downloads within the first year, which was unbelievable.
So people were looking for what you made, and they were paying you. Now, could people give it to their buddy and be like, hey, check out this software? Was that like something you worried about at that time?
Yeah. Well, you're always worried about that. But in all honesty, I believe that before I even knew about Joomla extension clubs and things like that and template clubs, I think my buddy brought over a DVD and said, here, I got this off a torrent. Check it out. Yeah. I started looking at these things, and I went, oh, this is actually a company, a company called Joomla Art. And I said, oh, wow, I have to do this. And, the great thing about if you've been somebody who does websites, templates have really taken over for the last 10 years. They've kind of been the go-to, and most of the Joomla template clubs, will offer you a year worth of new templates plus their back catalog, which most of them are at least 100. So for $99 a year, you can get, 120 templates. And, when I started doing web design with Joomla, that was a great resource for me, just going and signing up. And, that's the subscription model that has really taken over. Right now there's, subscription boxes and things like that. Though that's really huge, and that's something where, as being a Joomla developer for years, I've gotten very used to the subscription model because most of the companies use that.
So let me take a step back. So for any new listeners, people that are newer to the internet and how it works, can you describe what a theme is for? This is for somebody that's never heard of a theme. Can you define it for them?
Sure. In WordPress, they're called themes. In Joomla, they're called templates. I have no idea why we decided to call them templates and not themes. But
is this that kind of like the little battle between WordPress and Joomla? Like we're just going to call things different, you know?
I think in the beginning. Well, what a theme or a template is, it's a pre-designed website. So if you need a website to sell sneakers with Ecwid, you could go and just look for a Joomla theme or a Joomla template for shoe sales or for T-shirt sales, or if you need a law office. I mean, the theme clubs have been going now for, I guess, probably about 10 years. So I don't think there's really anything out there that you're going to be selling online that you can't find a theme for.
Sure. And so for people that aren't aware, you can search for a theme, a template, and whatever you want, it's going to be, all the nice pictures are there. So, of course you want your own pictures, you want your own text in there. But if you like, I sell sneakers, I need a sneaker theme, you can start there, and you replace those pictures over time, but at least the content and the pictures match it's a very good start, I guess is probably a good way to put it.
Yeah, it's a quick start, and even like seasoned web developers go for themes nowadays, because not necessarily that I'm going to look for a certain a theme for a shoe store, but I can just start to look and see what themes I like and what theme that might actually suit my needs. Because as we know, as you're saying, pictures, that's really it. Like what the background image is and what the demo content really defines what the website's about. So it's more about like picking the layouts and stuff. And I mean, this has really been a huge go-to for marketing agencies, because they can quickly put out a theme or a template. And there's, I think it's Theme Forest has made just a killing on this with the WordPress stuff. And some of the WordPress themes that are out there are just ridiculous, with like, you download one theme and you've got 100 different styles of landing pages and things, which I'm just scratching my head and go, wow, that must have taken months.
Yeah. It is it's an amazing shortcut for people that are just getting started online, that, I think people have this idea like, well, I'm going to start my site and boy, it's going to be hard. I'm going to have to get a developer. I'm going to have to code, and not really. There's somebody's already done the work, a theme developer, a theme author, somebody like yourself that's already did all the hard work. And yes, you need to customize it afterwards, but it is really easy to get started online.
Yeah, and it's just getting easier. I mean, with the domination recently of Wix and Squarespace. Wix has been around for years and years, but as technology changes, it got better. I think when it started, it was using Flash and things. Now that Flash is gone, it's in CSS3, and all the advancements in the web have made it a really easy experience now with drag and drop and things like that. And that's really translating over as well into Joomla and into WordPress. I mean, WordPress is about to release Gutenberg, which is a editor which you can easily, add blocks of content and pre-designed layouts just with drag and drop. And some of the larger template clubs of Joomla, like Joom Shaper, they have what's called a template framework, and that's something that really took off in the last 8 years that we all were really trying to do. We were trying to build a, quote, framework for our users where you could go into the back end of the administrator of Joomla into the template area and change the colors of the website, change the website images, do all of this without touching one line of code. And that was one of the largest things that have been happening. But now a lot of these people like Joom Shaper, I believe Utheme, they've built it into their themes where they have this integrated page builder and the drag and drop experience. So when you're using a template now for Joom Shaper, you don't have to go into the back end at all. You can do all of your editing just like Wix or Squarespace right on the front end. So it's it's really I think that page builders are really revolutionizing things, whereas templates revolutionized things 10 years ago.
Oh, I'd love to hear that. I personally know just enough code to screw things up.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
it's like my Spanish.
Yeah, I get. Yeah, exactly. Just enough, but then I'm like, oh, I could probably delete this line. Oh, oops, yeah, can't do that. Well, it's awesome to hear that like Joomla is being able to take from the site builders, right? That Wix and Squarespace, they're making this super easy to. It's easy, right? You log in and you start building the site. If Joomla can now adapt I see a big future there. That's awesome.
No, it's huge, and it's something that needs to happen. I'm giving a talk at the upcoming cPanel conference in October, and I'm just talking about page builders because that's really where it's going. And the thing about the page builders too is that they these proprietary systems like Wix and Squarespace, they are great and they are wonderful, but they have taken out a whole industry of the small business. For say Joomla, or since they do their own hosting, hosting companies, they're not getting that. And one of the big things with hosting companies is, not a lot of them do huge enterprise stuff. They really the shared hosting is probably, where the money is for them. So I really see in the next, 5 or 10 years, a dramatic change. And I look at it now and going, well, if we can do this now with these page builders and things, and there's a couple content management systems now that are like an app that you can download and you can do it on your computer. What happens when Apple just includes your website and you use their iCloud to store your information? And it's a dramatic change is about to happen, I think.
For sure. And where do you see it headed? You see the Wixes and the Weebly's and Squarespaces taking over a good chunk of that market?
Yeah, to start off with, and I think it's really a lot of people like inside the open source communities are really nervous about this, and there is a cause to be nervous, but we as the open source communities, we need to develop tools that can do things like that. But what we have to understand is that there's so many people need to get online, and if it gets them online by setting up their restaurant or whatever, if Wix and Squarespace, they can do you a website, they can do you a online business card for your website, but when it comes to say 3 to 5 years down the line with your company, what happens when you need to do something that they're not doing? And I know that they're looking at the content management systems. I know that it's going to become more robust. But I think, what I tell a lot of people that I know that do web design that are really nervous about this, I said, well, really what they're getting is they're getting the small client who can't afford your time. It's the client that you probably really don't want because they want a lot and they're not willing to pay you a lot. And if they can't do it themselves, because I have friends of mine that have tried to use Squarespace and they're not a web designer, and they say, well, can you just build it for me? And that's great, but it's kind of like a proving ground now because, so many people have an idea and they put it online and it either works or it doesn't. So if it works, then at the end of that, then you have everything you need to, take over, because if it's something that takes off in 2 years with Wix or whatever, people are going to want a custom theme to design. They're going to want some customization that maybe Wix isn't available to do, and already then they have their site branded, they have income, they have all the content, they have everything necessary for a web developer to build the site.
That's interesting. That's a good take on it, that these easy DIY options are really just expanding the market, that there's now more people that can get online. And, like you said, they prove themselves, they prove they can make a little money. Now they got enough money to pay a developer to take it to the next level, perhaps.
Right.
Yeah. So is that where you see Joomla? Is that where Joomla comes in that, okay, maybe it's not as easy as Squarespace, for instance, but if it's not that much harder, and if you want to build it for the long haul, this might be a better option?
Yeah, I see it as that because Joomla has a lot of interesting features that, maybe these website builders might not have. Joomla is now in 75 different languages, and that includes different dialects and stuff. It is the largest multilingual CMS that's out there.
Okay.
And it has, it has a lot of the core stuff built into it. And Joomla has always been looked at as, in the big three of WordPress, Joomla, and Drupal. WordPress was always the easiest. Joomla was, a little bit harder. You had to understand a little more. And then Drupal, no, it's way too hard. And I think that Joomla had got a real name for being more difficult because there were more options inside of Joomla. For let's say the blog inside of WordPress is very easy. You have a few options. When you look at Joomla, you've got maybe 40 different options. Do you want to show the date created? Do you want to show tags? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? I mean, it's ridiculous how many options there are. So, it can be a little daunting. When you have more menu items than, another CMS, it can look a little daunting. But once you actually use the system and realize the power that it has, it's a lot better. And we're actually moving toward Joomla 4. I think Joomla 4 will be out hopefully by the end of the year, if not at the beginning of the year. And it's a complete overhaul of the back end of Joomla as far as the UX team has worked for a few years and settled on a better look for the administration. For better or for worse, I'm not going to say it looks more like WordPress. It looks like Joomla, but things are arranged a little more, under a standardization.
Okay.
To where it's going to be a lot more accessible for a lot more people.
Got it. So for people logging in for the first time to Joomla, they're not going to be, as overwhelmed as they might be right now, where maybe that's where the reputation came from. Yeah, and with anything, I mean, if somebody's just starting out, it's just a software program, and that's one thing people need to understand is that you're not going to break everything. Try this menu link, see what this does, do that. And I think most people now, and I think that the thing that's really happening now that's just amazing to me is that all these kids, all the stuff going on in tech, all these startups, all these young people that have grown up with the internet. With actually the internet being a thing, they don't remember a time before. They're not scared at all. They're doing crazy stuff. That's awesome. So is there any sneak peek on Joomla 4 that you can talk about, or is it a little hush-hush?
Yeah, no, it's available on the Joomla magazine on joomla.org. You can look up Joomla 4. There's some screenshots, I believe, with joomla.com, which is, it's launch.joomla.com. We just did that. Let me make sure it's that. Yeah, launch.joomla.com. That is where you can go ahead and set up a free Joomla site. And from there, I believe you can go ahead and install the alpha version of Joomla 4 and test it out. And it's more or less just a preview for our extension developers, because we've really found in the past, we had a few problems going from Joomla 1 to Joomla 2 with doing some big code changes and breaking things for extension developers. And that's happened probably about close to 8 years ago, but it's still kind of a sticking point with people. So we're trying to be very open with the coding of Joomla and letting everybody know way in advance about what it's going to do, if it's going to break anything, and let people test, because that's the worst thing to have, is to have a website and you update to the new version of the software and it breaks everything. Yeah, and that's really where Ecwid is a wonderful solution for Joomla.
For sure. I mean, so one thing about Joomla is it's not really known as an e-commerce platform. It's a content management system. So, let's talk about Ecwid inside of Joomla. You've been able to play with it a little bit. You have any early feedback on us?
Yeah. No, I think it's a great system. There's quite a lot of shopping carts out there for Joomla. There's one of the largest ones is called Virtuemart, and it's been around since probably close to the beginning of Joomla, and it was a very robust system. Back when I was using it and I downloaded it, I think I downloaded a couple 100-page document with all the directions and instructions, which I printed them out and put them in a large binder. So that doesn't happen today.
You didn't walk away and say, "Oh man, I don't know about this."
No. It was the e-commerce solution that I wanted to use, but unfortunately, I was talking about upgrades and stuff, and they haven't done the greatest job in their upgrades, and it's a free extension, sure. And many people still use it, but at this point, it's not the go-to. One of the go-tos right now is called J2 Store, and that started as a very simple thing of inside of your blog content adding a shopping cart feature with a button, and that allowed for some pretty interesting things to where you could go in, if basic HTML, you could create your product page very customized, without doing any kind of overrides or anything. And that's really grown into a very robust system. But I think where Ecwid really shines is the future of e-commerce. One of the things with Ecwid is that since it is, a software as a service type of platform, and it's just a plugin that you install into Joomla, and then it pulls in all the products from Ecwid into Joomla. You don't have to worry about if there are some conflicts, say, with some JavaScript or CSS or whatever. From what I found, everything works great. And, I kind of been terming it as Ecwid is multi-platform e-commerce. So if I have a client that has a WordPress site and wants to convert it to Joomla, there's no worries if they're using your platform, because all I have to do is install the plugin, put in their code, and I've got their store inside of Joomla. So
for sure,
the ability to move it like that, and you don't have to worry about if Joomla 4 has some compatibility issues with other shopping carts. You're going to be fine there. That's the number one thing that I really love about the system.
Yeah, I think that's something that for people that use downloadable software, open source, that there are updates, right? That there are, when the next update comes, there are patches and downloads and such, and that might be fine for your CMS, but man, you really don't want your store to break. Like when everything's going wrong, at least let me continue to make money while the problems get fixed. So, I think that's a big thing.
Exactly. And I think some of the other real benefits are, the things that you guys are rolling out with selling your stuff on Instagram, Amazon, just all these social network platforms. I've got a client that I've been building her site for her, and I was thinking about using the J2 store for Joomla, and I had to actually sit down and have a conversation with her and find out, do you want to sell your products on Facebook and on, say, Instagram, and what do you want to have a point of sale option?
Sure.
Do you want to have an app? And these are the conversations that I really can't have with my client with, say, the J2 store or whatever. Sure, Joomla is robust, and there are a lot of third-party extensions. There's a lot of ways that I can customize it. If somebody wanted me to use said shopping cart and add this feature and add that feature, I can do that. But by using Ecwid, you've got it all built in. And it just comes down to, making them understand that in the long term, this is going to be better for you. I might be able to find a cheaper solution than you paying, the $39 or $99 a month or for whatever monthly. But that kind of assures that, you're always going to have, the latest update. It's not going to break, and you have all of these wonderful features. I can't tell you how much I would charge somebody for a shopping cart app after I built their app with, say, Virtuemart or J2 Store. It would be a lot more than what they would pay to actually use the Ecwid system.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is people look at that, well, this one's free. I can just download it, right? That's free. Well, yeah, it's free, but you're gonna be working, and how much is your time worth? So, yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, Rich, you were gonna say something.
Well, there was actually, there's like three things I was gonna say. I just didn't interrupt him, but you kind of answered some of this already. But I would just ask straight to the point: if someone was starting from scratch right now and they're looking for a CMS, like, why Joomla?
Why Joomla? Well, Joomla is, like I said, it's the number 2 content management system out there. It is open source. There are thousands of people worldwide that can help you. And we have training videos on the website. If you go to the website and you go to Discover and Learn, we have full documentation and training. There's blogs, and you can basically, we have user groups all around the world. So it's very easy to look up a user group and go to a meetup and ask for help. So there's always help like that. Using it because it's not WordPress, hey, that's really your decision. I'm more or less an open source evangelist. So if you are using WordPress and you like WordPress, continue to use WordPress. If you're using WordPress and you want some more features and you want a little more control over, say, the code, then check out Joomla. But it's really what you feel comfortable with. And, like I said, I downloaded Joomla for the first time, and I'd already used a content management platform, and I fell in love with it. Mm-hmm. So, if you don't mind getting your hands dirty a little bit, then Joomla's a great thing because, we use what's called an MVC model. The basic people won't understand that, but it's a model view controller. So basically all the layouts that Joomla builds for the pages, it's all editable inside of the template to where, if you want to change where the title of the article is above the image, you can go in a very clean layout and look at that and do that. And, do that without actually doing any core overrides. That's something that WordPress doesn't have. If you need to update WordPress or you need to customize it in any way, you're opening the code. And I know that most people that don't do blogs and don't ever look at the code with WordPress, it's great. But, I've had some experience with WordPress, and it's, you have to go in and make a PHP file if you want to have a sidebar on one page or not another page. And, for the basic user, it's kind of easy too because it's very well documented on the WordPress site. But it's very confusing that just to have a sidebar, you have to make this code. Where in Joomla, it uses modules, and you can define per menu link what's on this sidebar, what's on that sidebar. So, and I'd say if you want multilingual, go with Joomla. That's that would be my number one is the multilingual features.
So yeah, let's talk about international as well. So I know, or at least I understood that Joomla might be stronger internationally, maybe like in the Latin American world, or is there areas where Joomla actually has the bigger install base?
Europe.
Joomla,
okay. Yeah, we have. I would say that our probably our largest contributions from coders are in Germany.
Okay.
We have a huge community in Italy.
Okay.
And in Africa, we have a very large presence there because Africa is a unique situation because they're just technological enough to have some really cool advancements, but not everybody's running around with the latest smartphone.
Sure.
They have some flip phones and the conversation of how to do e-commerce with flip phones. They figured that out. And there's it's moving forward, and we have a lot of good people there. I think in September 14th and 15th is Joomla Day Kenya, and I think right now is Joomla Day Brazil. It's this weekend. So with Joomla, we have these things called Joomla Days. They're more or less conferences where you can go and meet the people with the team, and you can learn about developing with Joomla and such. So this Joomla Days happen, I'd say, just about every month around the world.
Okay. And that's a good time to meet people that can help, developers, probably business contacts, things like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's great because the conference is more or less divided into a couple different sections. I mean, the goal is to inform people about Joomla and give people who don't know a lot about it, give them the good basics and let them know of, things that they should be doing and things they shouldn't be doing. For intermediate people, it gives a great time to learn more about Joomla. The networking is fantastic. I think that going to a Joomla Day is essential if you're inside of Joomla because you get to meet so many people, and especially if you're somebody that if you're a developer, it's great because you really don't know who else is out there and what they're doing until you get to sit down and find out, and you might find your next business partner or your next team member.
Yeah, that's perfect. I think that is a good reminder to entrepreneurs out there in the online world that you think you can just make everything from your office. You can make magic from your office alone, but it is good to get out there and meet people and talk to people and do happy hour.
Well, something about that. You just want to get to happy hour, Jess.
Okay.
I was just saying there is something about that that open source community. To your answer to the question a minute ago was when it's open source, it just seems as if there's a little more element of a community aspect or community feel. More people want to help out.
Oh yeah, because it's a passion. I mean, it really is a passion. And I've been doing a Joomla Day in Tampa. It's Joomla Day, Florida. Been doing that for 3 years now, and we get over 100 people. And I do it normally in February or March, which it's kind of cold up north, so a lot of people come from up north, and we have people come from Europe, from last year we had Israel and Haiti and just many different areas, and all come together. And I do, like Jesse, I do like the after party. That is nice. After doing it for 3 years.
I wasn't harassing him in a bad way. I just was like,
it is Friday,
Exactly. But yeah, I really, at this point, I love bringing new people into Joomla, and it happens every one. But it's the Joomla people are kind of like a family to me. So I really like when I get the speakers to come over and people that I haven't seen in a year. So that's why I like going to these events, to more or less just to hang out with all my friends now.
Awesome. Well, I hope we can bring some more Ecwid people into the Joomla community. I know it's actually a pretty big chunk of our business as well. I think maybe because there aren't that many, there's really no hosted carts in the Joomla world, and so Ecwid fulfills that need. And I'm hoping more people at Joomla can hear about Ecwid and make their e-commerce lives easier, at least. So yeah, I appreciate your time here. So Jason, where can our listeners find out more about you?
More about me, they can find out more about me. They can follow me on Twitter. It's jjoomler on Twitter, at jjoomler. You can find out more about me on the Joomla website, joomla.org, under the community volunteer portal. You can look up the Joomlers. That's where everybody in Joomla is listed. And my company is joomlaxtc.com. And also I'm hosting a CMS Summit coming up on March the 14th to the 16th in Disney Springs, Orlando, which we will be talking about Joomla, WordPress, Drupal, Ecwid, and just a bold grid, many different options for content management solutions.
Awesome. So everybody check out those options for Joomla, particularly if you're looking for something with a little more options for the future. That's a perfect choice for you. So, Jason, really appreciate it. Richard.
Thanks, Jason.
Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Rich, there's another great show.
And when you add it all together with the other shows, you won't miss any strategies or new tactics on how to grow your online business.
So to make sure you don't miss anything, subscribe on your favorite podcast player. Rich, what player do you like?
Probably Stitcher.
All right.
How about you?
I'm an Apple podcast guy. I'm an Apple guy on that.
Yeah.
And we're growing right now. A listener asked us to add Google Play as a platform. So we just added that a couple weeks ago. We have Spotify, SoundCloud.
Nice. We're everywhere.
So subscribe on your favorite platform, and don't forget to rate and review us.
So we know what you think.
Yeah, rate how we're doing, review on what we have done, tell us topics you'd like us to cover, tell us if you think we're great and you are going to take over the world.
Subscribe, rate, and review.
It's the only way we'll know, and it keeps the shows coming. Thanks, everybody.